Hey, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to wrap up this videos module that we've been working on. And by wrap up, I mean there's going to be a lot left to be desired. It's not, a really deep module, but what I want to show you with this series is the kind of basics of how to scaffold and set up and kind of get the basics of CRUD out of the way for managing data, and then displaying that data on the front end so that you can explore some of the other documentation and some of the other videos and start filling in the gaps and working with the tools and services and whatnot that you have learned about elsewhere within this module. This is kind of just like a quick, this is how it works, this is how these kind of things work together, and this is kind of the flow of building a module, so that you can take that and learn more about other services in more detail and use those going forward. So with that said, what we're going to do is wrap this up. We're going to start populating some information, and then we're going to view it on the front end and talk about kind of how to make things presentable. So with that said, one thing that I have noticed is I forgot to include a video field for actually capturing the video URL. I did add the the series and categories field here, and I'm just going to migrate real quick to refresh them. And oopsies. So I'm going to get those in there, and really while I'm at it, I should probably go get that video field type. And there's one available on GitHub that I made, and it's free and open source and everything, and you can actually get that from packages as well. So I'm going to get it from there. I'm going to pull it in that way. The video field type. Here we go. I'm just going to copy and paste this require just like that, and that's going to add it to our composer.json and pull it in. And because we're adding it to our composer.json file with this command, it's going to put it in core for us. And if you're working on something yourself, you can also add the prefer source, and it'll use it'll clone it down rather than just downloading it. I know it works, I know it's good to go, so I'm just going to pull it in and use it. Wait for it to install here. And while it's doing that, I'm going to come over here and add the field. I'll do it under the poster. And video, and it's just the video field type. And if we come over here and take a look, there it is. And you'll see it looks just like all the other field types. What this one does is lets us input let's see, I've got matches for Vimeo and YouTube, so you can input a URL, a view URL for one of those providers, a video for it, and then you can use it in a multitude of different ways. And the one I am after, if we open up the presenter, I'm after the fluid output, and it basically just wraps the iframe in a fluid display. So close that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and migrate once more. Perfect. And now let's go take a look at our add-on. Videos. If we create a new one, video poster. Okay, so it looks like we're missing a language key for that, so let's just go ahead and do that right now. Okay, and let's go grab a video real quick. We'll use this one. Upload that, select a file. Let's upload something different. Let's see here. Test video, test description. And we need field slugs and names and whatnot for these. Real quick, I'm going to remove this description too. Just, nah, keep it in. Never mind. We don't have any series. Okay. Let's create a new series. And a category or two. Okay, and go back to videos and create that. We'll select our cool shoes. Paste that in. That's fine, and let's do both of those. Let's save and create, and I'll just reload real quick after I do those names. Cool. And as you see there, if we go back in and edit, we're all good to go. So let's take this and start building out some views with it. Let's see, I want an index of videos, and just in case you guys haven't caught on yet, this is kind of based on the one that is up on pyrocms.com now. Just spoiler alert. So I want an index of videos. I want to show an index of series and then show videos within a series. And then I also want to do the same for categories. And then of course we'll need a video view. And I'm just going to keep these super clean. I don't want to go into super clean, super simple. I don't want to go into markup and things like that. I'm going to be focusing on how to grab this stuff and then push it into your views so that you can go about your merry way. You don't have to watch me fussing with markup. So the first one, let's do the just the index of all videos, and I'm gonna make another one here. I'll do the let's pull another one here. This one looks fantastic. Oh no, that was a fake URL they gave me there. Nope. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. Now let's make one. So what we're going to do is first create our let's create our public controller. And so in our source directory and our HTTP controllers, and we're not going to go into admin because this is a public controller. Let's just create a new class and we'll call it videos controller, and the namespace. And then because this is a public controller, we will extend Pyro's, it's from the Streams platform, the public controller. And let's create a method called index. And there's a lot of things that we can do just within the views themselves. And I don't like the idea of using a repository in the method here and then pushing that collection into the views. And there's a couple reasons why. First is pagination. And if we do it outside of the views, we have to paginate and send the pagination object as well. or they send the pagination object as the entries, and then when you do that, you rely entirely on collection methods to be able to reduce things that the user can see if you want to customize things. So if we leave it in the view, what we can do is allow people to publish the add-on and then start modifying the views and add a little bit more logic in there. Like if they want to reduce, for instance, if you want to block who can see these videos based on their user group, then you just have to publish the views and add that kind of test there. If user is logged in, whatever logic you want to use, then show the videos. Otherwise, give them a button to log in. So it's really hard to do that when all of that logic is wrapped up into the controller. So some stuff goes in the controller, some stuff doesn't, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about as we move along here. One thing that I do want to do in the controller is add like metadata and a breadcrumb. So there's a few things. If we take a look at the public controller, all it does is check for maintenance mode on the front end, and it constructs the parent, but it extends the base controller, which is also, if we hop to this class, the base controller is also in streams. And what this one does is a little bit more involved, and it resolves some of these things that people tend to use a lot in controllers. That way you don't have to constantly inject them in, and it's relatively cheap. So I just include those here so that you can just use them and forget about it. If you need to create a public controller, like a resources controller for an API that's lighter than this, feel free to use the your own controller or create one. It's extremely easy. They're just Laravel controllers. This one just so happens to have some middleware and stuff built in. You can always extend the base controller and then just not construct, for example, or copy some of this middleware stuff. It's kind of up to you. So that's how that works. So if we go back to our controller and we're doing index, I'm just going to return this view make, and views are, like I said before, I think it was maybe the first video, views and config and language files, as well as some other things, are always prefixed by the add-on namespace. So in our case, we're going to be doing anomaly.module.videos, and now what we're working with is the views directory and resources. So we can just do videos/index, and up till this point, what we're referencing is this. So views/index, I'm just going to go ahead and make that videos/index rather. Videos and index.twig. Okay. Hi. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and route this. So if we hop over here, just plain old videos, and we're going to do it on the public videos controller. So we should be able to hit this and get this this view. Let's go here. Let's see what we got going on. View make. What did I do wrong? Oh, I'm not returning it. So make sure to return your view. We can't just magically expect things to happen. So we've got a basic, text output. So normally what you'd want to do is themes rely on a content block, and that's kind of where your theme ends, and then your content gets inserted into it with twig blocks. So to leverage that, you're going to want to use the extends and then reference your theme, and that'll pick up the active theme. I usually like to just, if I'm going to redistribute something, I always use the dot namespace. If I'm just working really fast, then this is plenty. The reason I use the full namespace is because I don't know what people want to do with my add-ons, and if they're switching up themes, you can do a lot of crazy stuff with themes, all the way up to like switching out themes depending on what page you're looking at. So it helps to have the namespace in there to give the exact idea of exactly what you want. So I'm just kind of flying through stuff here right now. So we'll use theme, layouts, and default, which there should always be a default layout in every single theme ever. That's one constant that we can assume. And then we're going to define the content block, and what this will do is extend the content block from our theme, or replace it rather, just like a normal twig theme. Let's go into core real quick. Pyro, the starter theme, resources, views, layouts. And again, we're in the view layer, we're referencing a view, so theme is referencing right here. We could easily use anomaly.theme, actually pyrocms.theme.starter. So default. And what this is doing is it's going to replace this, because we're extending this this layout. And the layout's just a view. It's called layout because it's in your layouts directory. So let's put our high here. There we go. Okay. Hopefully I can edit that out. So let's go ahead and add a breadcrumb, since we see it up there and it's all it's empty. And if you noticed on our public base controller, we have the breadcrumbs here that we can already use, and we've also got the where is it? The template super variable that gets pushed into views as well. So let's leverage both of those things and add some meta information, as well as there's no meta title here, as well as a breadcrumb. So let's do the key will be the text. So the breadcrumbs will be it's added by key and URL. So the key will be model, and the URL will be we'll just get it in here right quick like this. And let's go ahead and add a home one too, just to show the effect. Like that, and then let's add. So this is the template, and we're going to add a meta title. And meta title, meta description, and meta keywords are going to be used by pretty much any theme that you look at, just as kind of like a rough standard. So, meta title, videos. And here we have our breadcrumb, and we've got our meta title up here. And the meta title works because, again, back here in this default, what we're doing is we're including a metadata partial, and that partial is here. So it's using the template super variable, and this is just a simple collection, so we're using array access basically here to get the meta title out of it, and we're just translating it for good measure. So we'll call it good with that. And now we want to show the videos that we have. So I'm going to do set videos, and I'm going to use the entries function, which comes with the Streams platform. There's the Streams plugin, and videos. And typically you'll see the syntax like this. It's the stream namespace and then the stream slug. However, since they're both the same, I can just use one. And let's just get them all. And what I would normally do is we will loop here, and then I'm going to end up putting videos.render or links. This is the, actually, instead of using get, we'll use paginate rather. Videos render, and that's raw, and that's basically calling this on there. We could leave it either or, but I like using the attribute access with presenters. And then we'll loop over. So for video in videos Let's put this in a list. And, oh, come on. We'll do video.title. So if we reload, there we go. Perfect. Test video. Let's order these alphabetically. And what I'm doing here, this is kind of a cool feature in Pyro. The entries function, if you check out documentation, it returns, in this case, an entry criteria object, which extends the eloquent criteria object that's being documented there. Basically what it is, it's a safe wrapper for the query builder. So most everything you can do in a query builder, after that entries point, you can do almost anything you would normally do with an eloquent query builder, because stream entries they directly extend eloquent. So this is just kind of like a safe wrapper for that. And we want to order by title, ascending. Okay, so that's good. Oh, you know what? Let's order by, that's for another video. Sort order. Or let's just do, yeah. I have an idea. Slug. We'll order by slug. A title is translated, so we would want to do a join on translations, and I'll show you that another time. But for now, we'll just use a slug, since that pretty much represents what we're going after. So now let's do just a quick view for viewing this, for viewing the video, and let's go back to close that out. Don't need that. We'll need that. So it's to our service provider, and let's do videos / slug. And we're going to take this and we're going to define it as an array here. And what we're doing is basically it's the path to a definition. And by definition, usually it's a shortcut would be just the controller method. And this gets pushed into the uses parameter for the router. And if we go to add-on provider and do routes, register routes, what you'll see is if it's not an array, then it just pushes into uses. If there's no verb defined in the array, then it just uses any. If there's no constraints, then there's none. And then it sets the add-on so that you can tell which add-on is responsible for this view, and that comes into play a little bit later, especially with like shortcuts. So like module semicolon semicolon, or colon colon rather. That's determined by whatever is set here, and if there's nothing set here, it can't figure out what module is active, and it won't do that stuff. But sometimes that's kind of handy, so if you need it, then that's good to know. And then if it'll set up a resource controller if there's no @ symbol, and then other than that, it's going to set up a verb based method. So generally it's going to be any, the URI, the route, and then where constraints. So that's just kind of what's working behind the scenes here. It's very, very similar to just routing. It just tends to be a lot faster. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do uses, and we're going to do view. And you'll notice this pattern right here. We could go ahead and use like videos. We could do it this way. Let's do the HTML, and by documentation, this is referring to the HTML builder. We'll do HTML link. Let's see, videos, watch, and then video slug, video title. We don't need to escape this one because it's a safe function. And then if we reload, we'll see that if we click on this, then we get the route that we're after, but it's kind of annoying to do that typing for one. And two, if what if we are shipping this and we want someone to be able to change it? They're going to have to go in and change all of the views. They're going to have to change the route. They're going to have to do some stuff that just doesn't make any sense. So this is where model routers come in. And if you recall, when we created the video, it came with this, the video model obviously, but then the video router. And by default, you probably don't need to know this, but it's good to know that video models come with a base router called the entry router. And that takes care of most of the heavy work by default. And the video router is where you would put something that is a little bit more complicated, or you need some custom logic to generate a route. So a quick example of how this works. We will just use for the actual path, we'll use the route method and view. And what we need in order to make that work is define this as a named route, just like you normally would in Laravel. We're just defining the properties here that get pushed into the method, and this is going to take on a very simple pattern. So you start with the dot namespace, and then you start with, and then after that you have the stream slug of the model that you're going to be using this off of, and then the method name usually is what I use, the kind of identifying key. So if we were going to like delete this, then you could do it like this, or if we're doing views, so we'll go like that. And so because we're calling this off of a model, it's going to basically assume, it's going to be able to look back and be like, okay, so this model is in the videos module, and this model, its stream slug that's associated with it is videos. So we don't have to type all that stuff, and we can just go straight here. If we wanted to, we could, and sometimes if you're using the route based off of mismatching models, you can define the whole thing. It's just kind of, you know, a shortcut or whatever, but this will fully automate that. So if we reload, go back to videos, reload. Oh, I forgot one step here. I've mentioned before, but I always try and bind the generated models to my own. So what we're going to do here is just do that now. We're going to bind them. Videos entry, and we're going to bind that to the video model, and then this should work fine. There we go. So what that does is it kind of gives us, the system doesn't know where this model is in particular as far as the module. So if we bind it to this one, it'll resolve this model, and it'll be able to find its position here and look back until it finds a directory that's named similar to this, whatever module, whatever extension, whatever, you know, wherever the model is. It's going to look back until it finds an identifying folder here, and then from there it can determine the rest of the named route parts. It can determine this part. Okay, so that's good. Let's go ahead and make that view. I'm just going to copy and paste this and do view. And let's make that method. And in this case, I do want to take the video in the controller method because I want to add breadcrumbs and template information based on that video. So what I'm going to do is inject the video repository interface, call that videos. I'm going to do, if we can't find this video, we'll do find by slug. We'll have to create this, and we're passing the slug up here per our route. If we can't find it, it's abort 404. Otherwise we can go on. Okay, and it's going to want this, so let's go ahead and create that. I'm not going to worry about documenting it. Hop over to the repository here, and satiate our requirements. Return this model where slug. I like the magic method sometimes, but I don't always use them. So find by slug, return the first, perfect, and I can tell you right off the bat if we're going to reload this page, we're going to get that the interface is not instantiable, and that's because we haven't bound the interface to the the implementation. You can go ahead and use the video repository right out of the bat. I always make it a habit to use the repository. That's just how I work. Feel free to use the repository directly, though. I'm just going to bind the interface. Oops. To the video repository. Perfect. Okay, and we just need to update that. That's good, that's good. And we'll do view. And let's add one more. It's going to be video title. And let's just go ahead and use video route view for the URL here. And if you want to see what this spits out, it doesn't spit out the URL, it spits out the path, the path. Just like that, just like we defined in the route. And use the video title here too. You'll see sometimes I have getters for field attributes, and that's only because what I am doing is distributing add-ons that I have to ensure have this access for a long time. So instead of depending on an attribute access like this, I have to make an interface just in case title becomes something different. I can still use that get title method and return something different. And that's just one of the benefits of using an interface. If you don't need it, don't use it. Just delete them. Okay, now what we're going to do is just pass that video just like we normally would, using Laravel to our view. Okay, in our view, all right. So we've got the title here. We've got the title here. We can go back and watch videos. We can see the index here. Test video. Okay, and so now what I want to do is use that embed. So I'm going to access the video. In hindsight, I probably should have called that something different. I hate it when two are right next to each other like that. And then I want to call the fluid method that I was talking about, and we're going to escape that. There it is. Okay. Let's go ahead and make a header. Maybe let's put that up top. And this fluid, if you look over presenters, it's the same as this, but on the video field type presenter, and everything is decorated in the view. Remember that everything gets decorated in the view, unless you do something inside the view that for whatever reason we return a non-decorated item. Everything gets decorated. So this is calling this. We could use embed too, or we could use the URL, or we could use an ID, what have you. But I want the fluid output. We'll just do that. Let's put the description here. Perfect. So good enough for now. Let's start taking a look at some of this other stuff here. One thing, we do have to have a series tied to the video. It's required. So let's go ahead and prefix this with the series. We'll do that here as well. I'm going to go ahead and get it. Let's see. So video.series, relationship field types always return either the relation, or if you access it like this, then it'll return the actual object. So we want the series title. Video.series. Oh, whoopsies. Wrong view. Just like that. Okay, and we'll link those up later. So test video. Now we want to add it to our breadcrumb. And we'll just kind of do the same thing. Just like a normal relation. And we're going to end up doing, let's just go ahead and make this route now, since we'll need it. Series route view. Go back into our service provider and create series slug, and this will be series and series view. And let's just go ahead and make our index too, since we're thinking ahead a little bit. Okay, that should do it. Go back over here and let's check that out. And since we know we're going to need it anyways, I'm going to replace the series with a link here. Alright. So this will let us view that series. We haven't made that just yet. And then if we're looking at everything, we can also click there. So that does a good job. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you before wrapping this video up is how to start displaying maybe like some related entries. And while this is pretty simple if you've got a firm understanding of how Laravel works, it might not be so obvious otherwise. So let's take a look at series. And I want to, we're going to build out that series view, the view series view, and I want to show you how we can display the series and then display the videos within that series. So let's go back to, let's see here. Let's go back to our service provider. We've already got these set up. So let's go ahead and create this series controller. And it extends the public controller. And we'll create, let's just copy and paste actually these for now. I love copying and pasting. Alright. Let's do a quick search for video. We'll replace it with series. Preserve the case. Let's see here. Videos. Let me go ahead and cheat. Place. Oops. Oh, no, that's right. Okay. Skip. Do that one. Do that one. Oh, I would. Let's see. That's fine. 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 All right. Well, they kind of messed some things up, but let's go ahead and fix those real quick. Video series view. There. That's fine. Out the view. Let's do videos like that, and then we'll show series after videos. And normally we would want to probably name this route as well, and then do something like inject the router up here and use like series.index or series.index and then videos.index here. But since I'm running short of time, I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way. This might have been a little bit more work than it was good for. Okay, so we've got home, videos, and I'm going to go ahead and add series as well. And again, we would normally do like a series.index route there. Because you're naming routes normally, all you have to do, if you wanted to use like URL, I think maybe that's on the controller. It is. Series.index, for example. I'll go ahead and copy that down here too. That's just a better way of doing things. And then over here, we just want to make sure that we are naming. Let's copy this here. Series.index. And normally we would want to, I would say, route all of our front end routes, because what this enables us to do, not only is it more convenient, but a very important tidbit, and I'm not going to get into it too much now because it's more of an in-depth thing, but while it's convenient, yes, it also allows us to publish these publish like this add-on, and then we can include, for instance, in our resources / application reference folder, we can include a routes file there, and override this route by name. So if we define the same route using the same name later on in the boot cycle, it'll actually replace this URL. And the posts module, for example, is going to be updated so that instead of the kind of wonky configuration values you have to use now to get separate different kinds of permalinks, all you have to do is override the routes with your routes.php file. And it makes it just way easier, way cleaner, and just a super cool way to do things. So as I'm just going to copy this, videos, index, great. Let's just give you an idea. That's kind of what your routes preferably should look like for the front end. Alright, I probably botched this all up, but let's take a look here. Series index, I'm just going to copy this for now. And let's open up the index, videos, Okay, so you know what? This is going to work out just fine. Let's do our, this is an index of series. So let's go ahead and just do series equals entries videos. And since it does the namespace does not match the stream slug, we have to have the namespace and the stream slug here. And we'll order by slug, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Series. In series, I think you can actually do this, which is pretty cool. We'll find out. We don't need this series stuff as a link because we're actually viewing the series. Okay, let's check this out. Okay, series controller, because the name is already in use, that means we probably didn't extend correctly. But we can draw a series controller. Let's see here. Oops, that's not right. I knew that was going to get me in trouble. Okay, and now all we have to do is bind this repository interface just like we did the other one. So to do that, I'm going to come back down to my service provider. And again, you don't have to do this. I really like to. It's a really good habit to get into. Makes your code more robust. Perfect. So what we got here. 4.4, so it can't find that, and it's because the method does not exist. Let's go ahead and do that now. Series controller. And put that into our repository here. Okay, series interface, fine. Oh, gee whiz, I'm just messing stuff up all over the place here. This should go into our series repository interface. And yeah, that's a little weird, but we'll leave that there. The naming conflict is kind of strange, but that's okay. Okay, so now we're viewing this one, and let's see what the index looks like. So we've got our test series, and the other one, if you notice, just because we copied and pasted, it's actually working okay. We'll double check that here in a second. So we've got our test series, that's fine. And now let's click on the, let's see, we don't have a route set up for series view. So let's go back in here and make sure that that exists. Series.view. Okay, oh, and you know why it is because we did not bind our base model. And you know, I might come up with a way to fix having to do this, or kind of automate it, or like set a default. But as of right now, it's, you know, it's not too big of a pain. It's just kind of good to know that this is why this has to be. You have to bind your actual model to your generated model to give the system a concept of like location, so it can do some other kind of cool automations for you. Alright, there we go. Now it should work just fine. We click on here, we'll get the proper view or the route, and now let's load up this series view. I'm actually going to take the videos index, just copy and paste this little part right here. Okay, so we'll replace video with series. So now we've got the series title and the series description, and what I want to do is loop over the series videos. So I'm going to do set videos equals series dot videos dot paginate. And what you're probably going to guess is we don't have that videos method defined, that we have the video to series, but we don't have that reverse relationship, so we'll need to set that up. And then down here we'll just keep videos.render. We don't need the series link in this one, so if we reload we'll probably get an error. Let's make sure that our, let's see, series controller compact series view. Oh geez, I accidentally copied this stuff into the wrong one, so I'm just going to back this up just a little bit and put it into the correct view. Okay, so we've got that. So we don't have this, and it's nice that it doesn't break, that's good, but it could leave you wondering, we don't have this defined, this videos method defined. So let's go back to our series model. What's actually being returned, or what we have here, if we were to dump this, we would have the series presenter, because again we're in the view and the views get decorated automatically. But the presenters, if you check out documentation, they have kind of a graceful way of like taking an attribute or call method and looking around for what it should do. If you don't use the explicit method on the presenter or the explicit method on the decorated object, then it does kind of like a guessing game, like using mutable methods like get or is. So if we just left it like this, the first guess would be get videos, and that's just kind of an idea of like how that guessing works. But we want to specifically use the videos method. We'll come back over here, series model, pop that open, and define that. I'm terrible at my reverse relations, so let's see if I can do this. This has many video model class, and then it will be the series ID over there. I think that should do it. Let's find out. Perfect. So this returns the the related videos off there. And what we're doing is we're using the relation. We're using the relation so that we can use that paginate method here. And if we wanted to do something like this, we could check out that pagination is working just fine. Okay, so that's how you would start working with relations and kind of get things the way that you want them. I'll go ahead and leave it here for now for the videos. Kind of shows you the basics of the metadata and everything. You got into the router, you got into you know, kind of the breadcrumbs and like building the basics of an output. From here, there's a lot of different things that you can do. I mean, the possibilities in Pyro are like literally endless, and they're all pretty easy to do. You just kind of have to know what to look for. It reminds me of when I very first learned Laravel. There was so much potential. There was all these patterns and like cool tools that that Laravel was bringing to the table, and Pyro is very much the same way. It's like Laravel with like a stack of awesome sauce on top of it, and it's just a matter of kind of exploring and finding out what these tools are and where to use them, and it can really help you build you know, both very, very fast, rapid applications or websites, and it can also help you build some seriously solid applications as well. So I think that does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to making some more. I'll probably extend this series a little bit as people ask questions and come up with some stuff. Feel free to leave comments below. Thanks.